Donnacha Tobin, thank you so much for bringing me to your favourite bar, which is Foley's, in a place called Newbawn.
Thanks for having me, Gary. Yeah, bringing you down to Wexford. So, yeah, quite a big Foley's, I suppose. I'm a Meath man who's been adopted into or has moved down to Wexford over the last kind of 6, 7 years ago. So, around the time I moved down, 2018, Foley's was newly reopening. It had been closed for the previous 10 years. And yeah, I suppose, look, it's been a bar that's been very good to me since 2018, since I moved down. Met lots of people down in Wexford. And yeah, myself and my wife have enjoyed plenty of good nights out down there. And I suppose it's I had a tough decision to make between a bar at home that would have historically been my local or here. But look, I'm living down in Wexford, so I suppose I had to pick the Wexford bar.
You've taken the politically correct one might suggest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's probably less bad stories than the ones I grew up with as well, which
That,
is no harm.
well, that's true. That's true. We'll have to go on. You're young enough. There's probably some evidence on social media from the earlier years, but we'll leave that for a different show. For those not overly familiar with those two particular counties, one will be synonymous with football. The other will be more synonymous, I guess, with hurling. So your young fellas and young girls, are they picking up a big round ball or a little schlitter?
They're being handed both of them now at the minute. Like yeah, both. Yeah, I'm probably trying to encourage them down the football route, but when they're down in the local club, they're handed a hurl and a slitter and told this is the way we do it down here. So I'm trying to keep a bit of balance between the two.
But it is important, again, pub and the church traditionally would have been the big places for social interaction. But the GAA club in rural Ireland was big backbone, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And in fairness, I again moved down in 2018. I actually moved down to the local football club and hurling club myself in 2021. And it's been a brilliant way for me even just to meet people down here, integrate into the community, get to know people. And actually in the background in the bar here, there's bunting. That's the local Adamstown GA colours in the background as well. So yeah, it's been very good. It's been brilliant for me, kind of integrating in. I see, Tig and Lana, my kids, they're kind of down playing with all their peers, and it's a great way to get it integrated into a community.
And at a time when we're sort of, okay, we're part of a digital infrastructure world and we're building tools and platforms for people to remotely connect, something physical as a common purpose, like a match or GAA or the J9s, the juvenile nines playing in the West Wexford final. It doesn't matter. It's just a wonderful thing to tip the head and say hello to people. That's what you need, isn't it?
Yeah, I want to it's one of the things that's great about Ireland really as well. We are such a community. We talk about it the whole time in the industry, but we are actually a community too. Like, you're down, you're chatting to people, you'd never ordinarily chat to, that your paths would just never cross. And they have their own interests and stories and their own businesses, own careers, own everything else like that. Like, and it just throws up a lot of random encounters. But it's part of what does make Ireland great. Community element of it.
I love that say, a random encounter. It's lovely because when you again going back to our digital world, you go very deep and very narrow into teams and sports, particularly. You like random encounters where you talk about the biggest carp
Yeah.
or trout.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just because someone has a 6-year-old child, same as you.
Absolutely. So listen, there's a massive lightning strike in the pub, and everybody and everything is wiped out except for your phone with three apps. You're the great white hope, as they say. What are the three apps that you couldn't live without?
Yeah, I hope of a charger. Uh,
No, there's no electricity. It's even
yeah,
gone.
yeah, yeah. I seem to do it that fast, do I? The tree apps, geez, that's a difficult one. Yeah, I suppose you spend so much time on your phone. Look, I suppose WhatsApp's probably the first one. As much as I'd like to give out about it, you'd be lost without it. It's that easy way of keeping in communication with everybody. I've finished college in 2012. Like my friends are all over the world. Yeah, construction course in 2012. There wasn't much happening in Ireland at the time, so my friends spread all over the world. So it's a great way to keep in contact with them. Work point of view, it's how a lot of business is done now, really, as well. Like, people are so busy getting, back to emails and things that can be difficult. WhatsApp really has just become the kind of the go-to communication if you want to chat to somebody quickly and get something done. Second one then, probably X, Twitter, whatever way you want to call it. Yeah, again, despite the fact everybody gives out about it, I'd still find it brilliant. It's great. Keep up with all the local sports, keep up with all the international sports that you want to follow. You get anything on it, in fairness. And you sometimes have a little bit of a laugh at what people driving themselves crazy with what's going on in the world. I'd like to see the lighthearted side of these things as opposed to getting too caught up in it. But
Third
uh,
one,
third one then, probably maps, Google Maps. And
maps.
again, a lot of traveling, and you kind of whatever about driving around the locality when you leave Ireland, it's very handy to know where you're going and how you're getting there. And yeah, I don't know how I'd have done what I'm doing now 15, 20 years ago without just being able to hop into Google Maps and straight away figure out exactly where I'm going, when I'm going to be there, what time will I be there, time do I need to leave tomorrow to be there on time, and every
Fair
bit of
play
that.
to you. You wouldn't be an engineer by any chance, would you?
Yeah, there's a bit of that. Yeah, well, I'm QS by trade, but yeah, I suppose good. Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah,
measurement. You like to have things measured, and you like to have things precise. I don't mind. I don't mind when it tells me I'm taking a certain route that's 2 or 3 minutes slower, uh, because I like that route.
yeah, yeah.
Motorways can be a bit sterile. Um, but here's the thing. Really interested. It's a while since somebody actually mentioned X as one of their preferred platforms. Um, but I think you qualified it really well. It's a tool, and you choose to engage with some of the more crazy conspiracy theory stuff. You use it as a tool for local sports, etc. And that's, I think, the way you should always use tools.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, completely and utterly. And look, I think it's like everything. It's like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all these things. Just because somebody's has their opinion doesn't mean or people are having a conversation doesn't necessarily mean you need to voice your. If you're seeing two people on the other side of the street having an argument, you wouldn't shout over at them to put in your opinion. But for some reason, with social media, it's become that way where you just have to voice your opinion. And just because these two people over here are having an argument, oh no, I need to be part of that because they shouldn't be having this argument without me. So yeah, I think I tend to steer clear a little bit from that side of it. Sometimes you have a little look in and a bit of a laugh, but yeah, definitely use it more so for the kind of the sports and the news, and you can kind of keep up with
Yeah.
everything on it.
Yeah, no, I hadn't thought about it for a while because, as I say, it hadn't come up in the show. But it's like a hammer. A hammer can do great things, putting nails and stopping walks. You can also break window if you want. It's what you do with it, which is key. And being mindful. I guess sometimes you do a bit of research and you can start doom scrolling, and you find your brain. Your brain, I guess it goes back to the old, if it bleeds, it leads, and we lean into the negativity, and you need
Yeah,
to be careful. But what you said, I like. Every so often, you have a look over the fence. That's
yeah,
good.
yeah. You definitely have to be careful. Don't go too deep in any of the threads. You'll come up with all sorts. But yeah, if you're
Yeah.
use it well, it's good. I think.
So we're all in learning. We're all into lifelong learning. I've been told it's all even at my age. So what have you learned, and what can you teach the listeners that you've learned in the last 24 hours?
The last 24 hours. Well, as a Mead man, the last 24 hours weren't fantastic now, to be totally honest.
Right.
Up in Crow Park. And yeah, unfortunately, yeah, I was hoping Meath would have a 15-year wait ended, but yeah, Louth a 68-year wait for a Leinster title ended yesterday. So yeah, some difficult learning in the last 24 hours. But yeah, look, I suppose that's it's part and parcel of life, though, I suppose, isn't it? Great, the highs and the lows of sport, and that in general. Great win against the Dubs a few weeks ago, their first loss in 15 years in Leinster when Meath bet them as well, just to have it noted, I suppose. And then unfortunately 2 weeks later, the lows, Louth going and winning the
Yeah.
Leinster title. So yeah, a
But
difficult
again,
24 hours as a Meath man.
I'm gonna guess. I don't know, but it's quite unique in Irish sport. I'm guessing that you were probably a Mead man, passionate, probably had your kids, all the rest of it. You were surrounded by loud people, just as passionate. People don't understand that idea of a mixed
Yeah.
support base. But I bet you were in Crow Park surrounded by loud people, even though you're
Yeah.
a Mead man.
the whole stadium looking around. In fairness, it was class being up there. Like the colors, the green and red, they're great colors to watch a match. Like it was vibrant, the stadium around. But yeah, literally there was three loud people to the right of me. I had a Mead man beside me. I had loud people behind me. There was Mead men behind that, women and kids and everything behind it. And yeah, really, look, it was a family occasion. Everybody was there, and the two, yeah, side by side. There's no
Quite
segregation.
unique. It's
There's
quite
no
unique.
segregation. There's no, you can't be beside each other. And then there's a bit of crack through the match as well. A bit of slagging over and back. Me take a lead, go a bit in front. You're giving them a bit of a dig. Kind of, oh, we're going to get it done now. And unfortunately, they had the last laugh on us at the end. But it is something that makes the GAA so great. There is no need for this is the loud end and this is the mead end. Like the whole lot just happens together in harmony and generally good, lighthearted fun.
Yeah, I like that about GAA, I must say. When I look at some other sports where you actually nearly have to have barriers between the different supporters, I think this sport is something to be enjoyed. This sport, and then you take your side. And maybe that's just because I'm an Arsenal supporter and I've gone through so much pain for so many years that I'm actually now more interested in the sport than my team winning. And with that, I'll move on very quickly.
Oh no, we're not going to stay on that for a while, no.
Very quickly,
It'll become a therapy session.
I know. The only therapy I want to hear is from Manchester United supporters.
Yeah, well, I'm a Man United.
There you go. And I don't want to hear.
I can't say much right now. It's a bad week. Man United fan
bad week.
And a Meath fan. At least Man United are in the final. We'll take that.
I was waiting for it. Anyway, what's the kindest thing, apart from somebody telling you you're not Manchester United supporter? What's the kindest thing anybody's ever done for you in 35 seconds?
Gosh, 35 seconds. I think I suppose I've been quite lucky in my life. I've been surrounded by kind people, and I think that's probably been a bigger thing than necessarily one big massive act of kindness. My mother's a very kind person. She's very much of the school. If you've nothing nice to say nothing. And if you don't have something positive to say about the person, don't get caught up in the kind of the baggage of bitching and moaning and giving out. Just find a better angle or move on to the next person and that. And that kind of instilled in her from her mother as well. And I think I've been very lucky along the way that I've been surrounded by a lot of kind people who've given me lots of opportunities and opportunities that I got as a young age in school, principals and things like that would have kind of given me lots of opportunities. Sitting still in class was never something I was hugely great at for 8 hours at a time. It was never my strong point in primary school or secondary school. And luckily enough, I had kind of principals along the way who kind of were able to coax me to the side and kind of keep me some way interested, but help my attention span through the way.
Isn't that really interesting? Those quiet little nudges.
Yeah, absolutely. It helped that I played on the football teams too, so they wanted to make sure I was there at the right times to play on the football teams too. But look,
so they'd only expel you after the semi-final, was it?
No, they'd never be expulsion now. But it'd be just like right. Yeah, you just come with us for a class. The teachers will be happier, and you'll be happier, and then you go back in again then after, and there'll be no trouble. There'll be nobody asking for you not to go play the match or anything like that. Come next week, so it was managed well all around. But they were important things, I suppose, as you're growing up. You kind of, I do have quite a lot of energy naturally, and sitting in a classroom doesn't suit everybody. Sitting down, that structured learning just doesn't suit everybody. So to have people kind of spot that and kind of, give you the opportunities that you didn't have to do that. And, it does kind of allow you to perform. And even in a work point of view, I've been given lots of responsibility from quite an early age. Those people taking a punt. So I've always been lucky in that regard. That was people have taken a chance on me, I suppose. And that's, very lucky.
I think also there's people giving you the chance, but there's also taking it. And I'm being, I don't know if being kind back is the right word, but not being abusive of the opportunity that's being given or complacent. Because that seems to be, I talk a lot about luck. And when I look back through my career, and I'm sure your career as well, you see luck, and then you look at it and say, well, actually, I was lucky because I was in at 8 o'clock that morning. But I was always in at 8 o'clock that morning. You know what I mean?
I like to tie it back to sport a lot. And I always see it, and it was one of the kind of the big brainwaves, or one of the things that made it all make sense for me, or in terms of work. And I suppose from a young age, all I ever wanted to do was play sport. All I ever wanted to be out doing was kicking the football against the wall or in the garden or wherever I was. All I ever wanted to do. I suppose as you get older, you realize you're not going to be the Premier League footballer that you just kind of assumed you would naturally become, but didn't work out that way. But
although you get a run with Manchester United at the moment,
possibly, possibly, yeah. But it shows you a lot of things. There's a lot of things that sports kind of instills in you, like, and if you want to progress, you have to be a trainer, you have to be consistent, you have to keep showing up, and yeah, you probably get luckier. The harder you work, the luckier you get, and I suppose through that, you mentioned about the opportunities and seizing them then, but
that's so much better. You articulated that so much better than I did. I'm actually going to look back at this particular episode and steal that. But I think I'd finish it, and I did come to it. I think it's Jack Nicklaus. I think, anyway.
Yeah.
The golfer once said, "It's amazing. The more I practice, the luckier I seem to get." And I guess that's it. Like, even in Crow Park yesterday, there might have been a few where people say, "Oh, that was the wind caught it," or it was from very far. But that poor dude in February, when nobody was watching, was probably in a field kicking and kicking and kicking.
Yeah, they all were. Yeah, look, I suppose that was probably the difference at the end of the day. Quite a young Meath team came up and did phenomenal to beat Dublin, but probably just didn't have that muscle memory when it came to the big stage in Crow Park. Look loud, that's their third Leinster final in a row, and in the second half in particular, the little bit of extra experience probably told, and that is what got them over the line. And absolutely, now in fairness, every single one of them are the same. They're all out on the pitch in February, in October even, never mind February, slogging it out and running the hard yards. It's kind of the unglamorous stuff that nobody sees, but I suppose it's the unglamorous stuff that delivers all the results always, isn't it?
That's true. That's true. And the other code, Brian Cody said, you don't win back in the day when the Higgins Cup? You don't pick that up, the All-Ireland Hurling Cup in September. You pick that up in February in the dark days of training. So same in business. Donnacha. When you become a famous soccer player, you'll change the back. Donnacha. I can see it now,
Bit more glamorous, yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been short and sharp, but we've been around the place, and good luck with the assimilation to a hurling county. And we'll have you back in 5 years, and when you get out of A&E.
Yeah, there's no danger in letting me pick up a hurl. But thanks very much, Gary. Really enjoyed it. Cheers.
Thanks a million.